What's up, guys? Hey, this is Christian Brindle with Six Figure Medicare Agent. Hope this video finds you doing well, and we're back with another video. Today, guys, we're going to talk about how to overcome your fear of dialing, picking up the phone, talking to prospects, and how you can kind of overcome those fears, how you can kind of overcome those sweaty palms, right? The shivers that you get, just the crushing nerves that you might be feeling at just the thought of picking up the phone and calling a stranger and trying to sell them insurance. Guys, before we jump into this video, guys, we got to talk to you about this video's sponsor, and that's, of course, Lead Heroes. Guys, Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to telemarketing leads, whether it be final expense leads, Medicare supplement leads, turning 65 leads. They just got something for everybody when it comes to senior insurance sales. Just because you watch this video today, guys, Lead Heroes is going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. Down in the description of this video, there's going to be a coupon code as well as a link to their website that can be used at checkout, so go ahead and check them out. When I was new in the business, guys, a lot of you guys know my story, but just in case you didn't, I'm a second-generation insurance agent, like a lot of people in the business, like a Galen Hendricks, like a Justin Brock, like a Josh Lustig, right? Like a lot of people in the insurance business, I was a second generation. A lot of people that I know, a lot of very successful people. And fast forward, rewind actually to a time when I was 20 years old. I come into the business, right? I get licensed, I get AHIP certified, and I get certified to sell Medicare Advantage companies. I come into the office, and my first couple of days went something like this in terms of my training. My dad was teaching me and one of my very, very close friends who came into the business together. And we were both, very young. We were both probably roughly around 20 years old. Really very little sales experience. He had a little bit more than I did at that point in time. And first day, we did a little bit of product knowledge, maybe a little bit of minor Medicare supplement training, maybe a little bit of Medicare Advantage training. Day number 2 in the office, he hands us a data list of people turning 65 and hands us a script and says, have fun. No power dialer, really no training. And I remember, when he hands us this and he's starting to walk out of the room, both of us kind of just were like, wait. We're just like panicking a little bit. And we're like, can't you do some examples for us? Can't you show us a little bit of how you do this? And he's like, all right, fine, like begrudgingly, right? At this point in time, I think my dad was about 60 years old, maybe 59, 60 years old. And he just had been in the business a long time and he was just tired of making calls. Can't say I blame him if they were doing it that long. And so he sits down with us, picks up the phone, calls somebody. The first phone call that he makes, it's somebody that's already had a plan for a couple of years. And I don't know how she got on a turning 65 list, but she did. And he starts pitching her hospital indemnity plans. And he gets this close to getting an appointment. Makes that one phone call, and he says, all right, there you go. There's your example. Have fun. We have a script, a list, and we are wide-eyed, and we are nervous, right? We are sweating making these calls, right? We're in a little back office in the back of our office at the time. We're sitting back to back in a room in the back of the office with no rooms. We called it the bad agent room because it had no windows. And we're sitting back to back, right, in these desks, and we have phones, and we're just really nervous about the whole thing, because any of you that have been in sales for some amount of time know that cold calling like that is one of the most stressful and difficult things you can do as a salesperson. It's probably the most hardcore sales you're ever going to do. But at the time, I didn't know that. At the time, I thought that's what everybody did, and I thought that was normal. That's what my dad had done building his business. My dad came up in an era where social media did not exist. The internet was really not a factor. And so he built his business in the 90s and early 2000s, and that was kind of the strategy that they used to build their business at that point in time. So that's what we were taught. And I did that for about 2 or 3 years, but I can promise you guys that in the first 6 to 12 months of doing that, especially in the first probably 3 or 4 months, I felt crushing nerves every time I picked up the phone. In fact, I even had a theory that women would have a less chance of yelling at me than men, so I would go down a list and I would only call women and I would skip all the men, right? I would just try to think of anything I could to make it easier on myself. The fear was just overwhelming at the beginning. And it was probably one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've ever had in my entire life. I tell you guys this because I'm not alone, and everybody feels that way, and you're not alone either if you're feeling that kind of crushing fear as well. Now keep in mind, this was cold calling strangers. Might as well have been cold calling people out of a phone book, right? People that had no connection to us, they had not requested any kind of information. And a lot of you guys are feeling this same kind of pressure when you're calling leads, people that have requested information, right? So the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is just to understand a couple of things that kind of helped me overcome my fear of making dials early on in my career, and what it made me, when it helped make me a ninja on the phone. You can hand me any kind of lead today, and I will be able to turn something out of it, right? If I have enough leads, I can do something with those leads. I have become a master at being able to squeeze water out of a rock. You can hand me a 50-cent or $1 aged lead. I can do something with that lead at this point in time because I have years and years and years of experience making calls and selling insurance to people that maybe I don't know. And when you start off cold calling, even the worst lead is going to seem like gold to you in comparison because there's really no bottom tier contact that you can make than a cold call, right? And I'm not recommending that any of you guys cold call. If I knew what I knew today, I would have stopped doing it much sooner than I did. But I just tell you guys this to understand that I was where you're at if you are making just absolutely every excuse in the book not to dial because you're afraid of what might happen as an alternative. You're afraid of the outcome of that phone call. So let's just jump right into this, guys. How do you overcome this fear? It can be crushing to kind of overcome this fear. It can be one of the most difficult things that you can possibly go through as a business person and as a salesperson. But if you can overcome it, I promise you it will change your career forever and you will never have to worry about money again. So, understand that most, if not all, people in our industry at one point in time felt the same feeling that you're feeling right now. The difference is the people that let it consume them and let it stop them from progressing forward and just said, this is maybe someone that threw their hands up in the air and they said, this is too hard, I can't do this. Those people are the people that didn't make it in the business. There's two different types of people. Everybody feels the same fear, right? Everybody feels the same fear. The difference between those that are successful and the ones that aren't, the people that are successful told themselves, I don't care, I'm going to do it anyway. They didn't let that fear paralyze them. And they just did it anyway. They felt the fear. Their hearts are pounding, their palms are sweaty, and they are terrified at what's going to happen when they're on the other end of the phone. And they probably mess up for a while. They probably mess up tons of phone calls because they just freeze up on the phone. There were tons of times when I was making dials and calling people early on in my career that they pick up the phone, I would freeze up, and I'd just hang up out of panic. Those kind of things are going to happen. But understand that I would be shocked if there's anybody that told me that they did not feel any fear when they first started making sales calls. Whether they were doing sales calls in insurance or maybe they were doing sales calls selling something else. When you're first doing it and you haven't done it before, it's a scary, scary thing. So understand you're not alone and you're not the only person that's felt this way before. The way you get better at making dials is the way you get better at doing anything. Right? When you're a kid and you're learning how to ride a bicycle, or when you are learning how to drive, when you get your learner's permit when you're a teenager, what made you better at those things? You kept getting in behind the wheel and practicing, right? There's a reason why they require that when you have your learner's permit that you spend a certain amount of hours driving with an adult. So that way you can get some practice in before that you even get to the point where you can take your test. There's a reason why you practice with training wheels with a bicycle before you can take them off, before you start learning how to really ride the bicycle without the training wheels, right? It's like the gym, right? If you're trying to put on muscle, you're trying to lose weight, it's going to come through reps, just like in the gym. Reps meaning consistent reps and efficient reps. What I mean by this is you're not going to gain a lot of muscle by just doing one rep a day. Right, you're going to have to really put some work in and to be able to kind of build that muscle. And being able to make those calls to people without feeling the fear takes reps, right? The more you do it, the less fear it becomes, right? Because you're like, I've been through this before. I'm experienced. I'm a veteran. I've seen it all. I've had people scream at me. It's no big deal. I'm going to be able to handle it. So reps and doing it over and over and over and over and over again, the longer you do it and the more often you do it and the more consistent you are, the more the fear is going to die down over time. But it's not going to happen overnight. At first, a script is going to be your lifeline. Now, if you've been experienced in the business, now most of you might know this from watching this channel a lot, I'm not a big believer in scripts. Shocker, right? There's a lot of salespeople that swear by scripts. I've seen people that have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. I'm not a big believer in scripts. I believe the main purpose of a script is to open the door to allow you to have a conversation with an interested and qualified buyer. But once you get through the point where you've opened the door and you're able to have that conversation, I think it's just about having a conversation with somebody. I think that's where your personality is going to shine. I think if everything you're doing is too scripted, it's going to hurt you overall on a sales call. But when you're new in the business, you're going to need a script. You're going to rely on a script because you just don't know what to say. You just don't know what to do. Make sure that you have a script that you can follow, that you believe in, and then over time, as more you do it more and more and you get more comfortable, you can make the script more your own and make it kind of tailored and to fit your personality. If you have an upline in the business, ask for a script if you're brand new. Ask for some kind of script so that way you can practice on something, right? Because if you just call up a prospect and you don't know what you're going to say, you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, you're not going to get anywhere. What did my dad give me when I was cold calling my second day in the business? He gave me a script, right? And early on, I was just reading that script. And then over time, I tweaked it, adjusted it, made it my own. And then over time, years later, I actually made my own script that I've actually done training on in Six Figure Medicare University and all the webinars and things like that. But a script is going to be your best friend at the beginning. The better you get at it and the more comfortable you feel and the more you evolve as a conversationalist, as a salesperson, as a dialer, the more you're just going to be able to go off script and it's not going to hurt you and you're going to do just fine on the phone. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't. If you just are beating yourself up and you think, I am the worst, I suck, I just can't get through this, don't be so hard on yourself. There are so many people that have felt, like I said, exactly what you're feeling. Like I said, my first 6 months or so that I was in the business when I was cold calling, my anxiety was through the roof when it came to making calls. Right? There were days where I would try to find excuses to get out of it. I would think, okay, I'm going to watch this webinar. I'm going to sign up for 10 carrier webinars today so I don't have to actually make any calls. There's people that do that, right? There's such a thing as spending too much time getting ready to get ready, right? And then don't spend enough time actually prospecting. But you're not alone. Don't be so hard on yourself, but understand you do got to get through it at some point in time, but don't beat yourself up. Understand where you are. Understand that everybody else has been there. Literally everybody that's ever come into the business has been where you're at. They've had this fear. They've had this anxiety. And the people that say they didn't, they're liars. I don't believe them as far as I can throw them, right? If I could put them on a lie detector test, I'd put my own money into escrow and see what their results come out at. Maybe I wouldn't because I don't think those lie detector tests are necessarily always accurate. But don't be so hard on yourself, guys. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break and understand that this is going to be a process and it's not just going to happen like the flip of a switch. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to come through consistent reps over time. The more you do it slowly but surely, you're going to feel more comfortable the longer you go. Be a sponge. What do I mean by that, be a sponge, right? If you're having trouble making sales calls or making sales or doing a sales presentation, the best thing that you can do is learn about the products, learn about Medicare, so that way you're dangerous, right? You know enough to talk about it eloquently and articulate your points in such a way. But the other thing you need to train on is sales training, right? And how many great salespeople just immerse themselves into sales training through guys like Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Jordan Belfort, Grant Cardone. My guy was Grant Cardone. The person that actually helped me tremendously, I've read Brian Tracy books, I've got a lot out of them. I've read Tom Hopkins books, I've got a lot out of them. I just immersed myself early on in sales training. Probably the best sales book I've ever read is really, in terms of just sales book, is probably a book called Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. It's a very fantastic sales book. Goes over his straight line selling system. But just be a sponge, right? Be a sponge. Absorb that stuff. When you're driving somewhere, when you're commuting, Listen to something on YouTube that's sales training related. That's the best thing you can do, because really you just have to learn the tricks in the trade. You have to learn rebuttals. You have to learn tonalities. You have to learn how to overcome objections. You have to learn different scripts and things like that. And having all that sales training that you're putting into your mind is going to bode well for you, I promise. I remember I bought a year's worth of Cardone University, I think in about 2016. And I went through that stuff every single day. I kind of wish I paid a little bit more and got it for life. But it was a fantastic thing for me at that point in time in my business. I'm a big Grant Cardone guy, as a lot of you guys know. And just pick somebody that you love that's a sales trainer, read their books, watch their trainings, go into their webinars. Don't give them all your money, right? Like if you let some of these guys, they'll take every penny you have. Don't do that. Just read their books. Spend $20 on it. Watch free YouTube videos. It's all you're going to need, in my opinion. But be a sponge and soak up information, right? That's going to bode well for you, because if you want to be a great salesperson, you have to study sales as an art form, right? And that's going to bode well for you. Sales is still a vital part of doing business in today's world, in my opinion. Another thing I had to tell myself when I was making calls, I would be so scared at somebody that I maybe interrupted their dinner, or maybe there was one guy in particular that told my friend who started in the business with me in our first couple of months that he wished he was on his porch so he could blow his head off with a shotgun. And those kind of interactions scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you. People swearing at me, yelling at me, putting me down. Remember, I was just a kid, right? So I was maybe a little bit more fragile than I am today. Now I don't care. I don't really give a crap at this point if someone's mean to me. But at that point in time, I felt a little differently about it. What I had to tell myself, and what I really had to lock my mind into this concept, they won't come through the phone and get you. They could be spitting angry. You can hear it on the other end of the phone, right? You can just tell that they are so upset with you and they just want you to die. They're not going to come through the phone, and you're never going to talk to them again. Chances are. So understand that, right? And it's not personal also. Make sure you tell yourself that. It is not personal. To them, they have their shields up. They think you're trying to take some money from them. They just don't understand that you're really trying to help them, and that's what you should be calling for anyway. You're just trying to be of service, and you're just trying to help them with a problem. But if somebody gets mad at you, just be like, okay, no problem. I'll put you on our do not call list. I apologize for the inconvenience. Hang up. Move forward. Make sure to stay even keel, right? Don't let things get you down too low, but when things go well, don't let yourself get too high. Because if you get too high, it's much easier for you to crash back down to rock bottom. You have to really be almost Zen-like, right? Very, very Zen-like, very, almost like Buddhist-like, where you have to make sure that you stay even keel. Not too high, not too low. Last thing I wanted to tell you guys is this kind of comes back to the rep thing, 10,000 hour rule. One of my favorite books that I ever read is a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And it's a book that identifies top performers in different areas of life, whether it be business, investors, professional athletes, just brilliant mathematicians, just all different kinds of people through life. And it kind of identifies different things in different areas that give them an edge over their competition, right? They talk about Bill Gates. They talk about Michael Dell. They talk about so many different people. And they kind of identify areas where all of these top performers in life have similarities. And they have similarities in terms of what they're actually have going for them that might give them an edge. And some things are just luck, right? Like professional athletes, there's people that are born maybe a few months before somebody else, or maybe 6 months before somebody else. And so they might be in the same age group as somebody, but they're slightly more evolved. They're maybe a little bit bigger because they were just a little bit older. And that gave them a little bit of a physical advantage. So there's certain things like that. It's a very fascinating read. It's a great book. But the main concept that the book is famous for is the 10,000 hour rule. And the 10,000 hour rule says that in order for you to be an expert at anything, you have to spend 10,000 hours on it, and you have to spend 10,000 hours doing it first. And so a lot of people want to be experts at something when they're brand new at it, when they're 6 months into it. In my opinion, if you haven't spent 10,000 hours doing something, you have no business teaching it to someone else. And in order to be an expert, in order to really classify yourself as an expert, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing something. So I would say if you want to be a great salesperson in insurance, if you want to be great at calling people, if you want to be great at dialing the phone, you have to spend 10,000 hours doing it by the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers rule. 10,000 hours. That's what all peak performers in all areas of life understand. So if I was a new agent all over again and I understood that concept, my battle cry would be, I want to get my 10,000 hours in as fast as possible. Because once you've done something for 10,000 hours, you are a bona fide expert at it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps some of you that might have had those phone jitters. I know it's something that a lot of people face and a lot of people go through. If you guys found this video helpful, do me a favor. Please drop a like on this video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps more people just like you who might really need to hear this message come across it. It might change their business. It might save their business, really. So do us a favor. Drop the like on the video. It would mean the world to me if you did that. Comment your thoughts on this video down in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you had similar experiences? Do you have jitters on the phone? What did you do to overcome it if you got over it? I'd just love to hear your experience with this topic down in the comment section. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified when we upload videos. We upload about 3 to 4 every single week, free of charge. Really, really great training that we try to put out. That's really helped me be a massively top performer in our industry. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Again, I hope you found it helpful. Here's to your success and your abundance to you guys. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.